In this video, we dive into the powerful, often overlooked tool within you, intuition. It's not magic, it's your inner wisdom, shaped by experiences, emotions, and your subconscious. We'll explore how to harness this natural ability to guide your decisions, trust yourself, and truly connect with your deeper knowing. Get ready to unlock a new level of clarity and confidence. Let's begin. Intuition is not some esoteric whisper from the cosmos, nor a magical force reserved for mystics or visionaries. It is the distilled wisdom of your experience, the subconscious, processing of countless patterns you've encountered, and the unspoken language of your emotions. Yet so many of you dismiss it, brushing it aside as an unreliable quirk of the mind. But consider this, intuition is the voice of the ancient within you, the primal knowing that predates the cages of reason. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand. It waits in silence until you are ready to hear it. Every moment of hesitation you've ever ignored, every gut feeling you've second-guessed, those were not errors or illusions. They were your mind's way of connecting dots you didn't even know existed. Nietzsche once said, "There is more wisdom in your body than in your deepest philosophy." And isn't that what intuition is? The body's way of reminding you that intellect alone is insufficient. When logic falters, when the terrain ahead is unknown, your intuition steps forward, not as a servant, but as a guide. You've likely felt it before, haven't you? That invisible pull, that inexplicable certainty that defies explanation. You didn't know why you chose to turn left instead of right, why you trusted one person over another, or why you felt compelled to walk away from something that seemed perfect on paper. And yet, looking back, didn't it make sense in ways you couldn't articulate then? Intuition is not a luxury, it is a survival tool. It is the part of you that transcends the noise of the world and the chaos of your thoughts. To trust it is not to abandon reason, but to acknowledge that there are truths your mind cannot yet articulate, but that your soul already knows. So why do you resist it? Why do you cling so tightly to the belief that every answer must be proven, measured, dissected? In doing so, you deny yourself a power so ancient, so profound, that it could illuminate paths you didn't know existed. If you learn to trust this voice, this quiet, persistent whisper, you'll discover something extraordinary. That the answers you've been seeking are not out there, but within you. And they've been waiting all along. Fear and intuition, two voices that often speak at the same time, yet they come from entirely different realms. Fear is loud, chaotic, a panicked messenger that screams of danger, loss, and failure. Intuition, by contrast, is calm, steady, and unwavering, like a lighthouse cutting through the fog. The challenge lies in discerning which voice you are hearing. Fear is born of the world's noise, of past wounds and imagined catastrophes. It seeks to bind you, to keep you small and safe, locked within the confines of what is known. It is the prison warden of your potential, whispering all the reasons you shouldn't move forward. Intuition, however, is the quiet rebel within you. It has no interest in your comfort or your fear. It speaks only of truth, of the path you are meant to walk, even when that path terrifies you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them. Fear, you see, thrives on your judgment. It feeds on the stories you tell yourself about what might go wrong. But intuition is free of such burdens. It doesn't deal in what-ifs or worst-case scenarios. It simply knows. To hear intuition is to become still, to silence the clamor of fear long enough to notice the difference. Fear will tighten your chest, make your thoughts race, and paint vivid pictures of everything that could collapse. Intuition, however, feels like a soft nudge, a deep clarity that needs no explanation. It doesn't argue or plead, it simply presents itself. Nietzsche spoke of becoming who you are, and that journey requires you to trust the voice of intuition over the noise of fear. But trust does not come easily, especially when fear masquerades as caution. So here is your practice. When faced with a decision, pause. Feel the sensations in your body. Fear screams, intuition whispers. Fear demands certainty. Intuition thrives. In the unknown, when you begin to distinguish the two, you'll find that fear loses its grip. It doesn't vanish, but it no longer commands you. Intuition becomes the compass, and fear merely a reminder of how far you've outgrown the cage it once built for you. The next time you feel torn, remember this. Fear is an echo of the past, but intuition is the call of your future. Trust the quiet voice. It has always known the way. The world around you is not silent. It hums with whispers, signals, and signs, constantly offering you guidance if only you'd pause to notice. The details, the seemingly insignificant moments that slip through your awareness, are where intuition often speaks the loudest. To notice these is not a skill reserved for the gifted, but a practice of returning to the simplicity of presence. Your intuition does not operate in grand gestures or dramatic revelations. It lives in the subtle, the fleeting sense of unease when someone's words don't match their energy, the way a place feels before you even understand why, or the clarity that comes when a thought lingers long after others fade. These details are not random. They are the threads that weave the tapestry of understanding, if you are willing to notice them. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And so too does your perception of the world depend on what you choose to see. The mundane moments you overlook are often the seeds of intuition waiting to take root. But when you rush, distracted by the chaos of the day, you lose this connection. You drown in noise and miss the wisdom hidden in the quiet. To notice the details is not merely to see, but to feel, to sense the pulse of the world around you. Intuition works like a symphony, each note delicate but essential, a glance that lingers too long, the way someone's voice falters mid-sentence, the subtle tension in your own body as you approach a decision. All of these are your subconscious, offering clues. Nietzsche spoke of living dangerously, and what is more dangerous than ignoring the signs that the world is showing you? The practice of noticing is not about paranoia or over-analyzing. It is about attuning yourself to the frequency of your inner and outer worlds. Begin with the small, the texture of the air in a room, the way your body feels when you encounter someone new, the fleeting thoughts that come unbidden but persistent. These are not distractions. They are your intuition sharpening its edge. Every great decision, every life-altering moment begins with a detail, a moment of awareness where something hidden comes into focus. The world does not need to shout when you learn to hear its whispers. Trust the quiet, the small, the seemingly insignificant. In those moments lies your truth. Logic is a powerful tool, but like any tool, it has its limits. It is sharp, precise, and relentless, carving paths that seem clear and predictable. Yet, in its precision, it often blinds us to what lies beyond. Its edges, the unseen, the unquantifiable, the realm where intuition quietly reigns. Logic craves certainty and structure, but life, in its rawest form, offers neither. Imagine standing at a crossroads, the logical path illuminated by data, reason, and the promises of others who've walked it. It feels safe, familiar, and well-worn. But then there's the other path, shrouded in mystery, pulling at something deeper within you, a feeling you cannot explain, a sense that defies logic, yet refuses to be ignored. This is the tension between the mind and the soul, between logic and intuition. Logic, by its nature, clings to the past. It builds its fortress on what has already been proven, drawing lines from one certainty to the next. But intuition, like Nietzsche's Übermensch, transcends the known, daring you to leap into the unknown. It whispers not of what is, but of what could be. And often the greatest triumphs of your life will arise not from what was logical, but from what felt undeniably right. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Yet logic, if unchecked, becomes a tyrant over the mind. It tells you to stay, to wait, to choose the safer option. It tries to quantify love, measure risk, and justify hesitation. But life is not an equation. It is a series of moments that defy calculation. Consider the times when logic betrayed you, when the rational choice left you restless, when the safe decision led to regret. Logic cannot account for the intangible forces that shape your life. The pull of destiny, the resonance of a connection, or the subtle knowing that guides you toward what truly matters. And so, intuition steps in, not as an adversary to logic, but as its necessary counterpart. It speaks the language of the unseen, urging you to trust when there's no evidence, to act when fear says wait, to leap when logic demands restraint. It is not reckless, it is wise in ways that logic cannot fathom. The stories that define your life will not be those where logic triumphed. They will be the moments when you chose the uncertain, the intuitive, the path that made no sense to anyone but you. In those moments, you will find not only your truth, but your power. Trust it. Your first thought, that fleeting spark of clarity that emerges unbidden, is not random. It is the distilled essence of your subconscious mind, a whisper from the depths of your being before the chatter of doubt, fear, and overthinking clouds. The message: this is not a mere guess. It is the voice of your lived experience, your instincts, and your intuition, combining to offer guidance before your rational mind has the chance to intervene and dissect it to oblivion. In that first moment, you are pure. Your perception is untarnished, unfiltered by the judgments of others or the constraints of societal expectations. It is as though the universe lends you a fleeting moment of alignment, where what you feel, know, and sense converge in harmony. Nietzsche once said, "There is more wisdom in your body than in your deepest philosophy." Your first thought is the embodiment of this wisdom. It is your body and soul recognizing truth before the mind has time to complicate it. Consider the times you ignored this impulse. The moment you hesitated when you felt drawn to speak up, to act, to choose. Logic stepped in, caution whispered, and you waited. But later, in the quiet of your mind, you returned to that first thought, that initial impulse, and wondered, what if I had trusted it? This regret is the price we pay for ignoring the wisdom that intuition offers in its rawest form. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Yet how do we know what is right and true? Often, it is that first instinct that answers, not the product of deliberation, but the clarity of an unguarded moment. Your first thought is not perfect, but it is honest. It carries the weight of your truth, even when the world tries to convince you otherwise. This is not to say every first impulse is flawless. But those thoughts are unshackled by overanalysis. They are the product of a mind that has not yet succumbed to fear. When you allow yourself to act on that initial clarity, you connect with something primal, something profound. You stop waiting for certainty and start trusting yourself. Your first thought is your compass. It may not always lead you to the easiest path, but it will lead you to the one that aligns with who you are. Trust it. Act on it and watch as the world begins to align with the clarity you dared to honor. In the silence, there is a world waiting to be heard. Not the silence that feels like absence, but the profound stillness where your thoughts can finally settle, like ripples fading on a once disturbed lake. It is here, in this quietude, that you come face to face with yourself, unmasked, unguarded, and unfiltered by the noise of the world. When you embrace silence, you do not escape the world. You engage with it more deeply. Silence is a space where the mind stops reacting and begins reflecting. It is the moment when your inner voice, so often drowned by the cacophony of daily life, dares to speak. This voice is not loud. It does not shout over your fears or anxieties. It waits patiently, trusting that you will grow still enough to hear it. Nietzsche reminds us, all great things must first wear terrifying and monstrous masks. Silence, too, can feel daunting at first. It strips away distraction and leaves you alone with your rawest thoughts, your deepest questions. But what feels monstrous is merely the unveiling of truth, the truth of who you are and what you desire. Silence does not give you answers. It clears the path for you to find them. Marcus Aurelius, a man burdened with the weight of an empire, understood this well. He found his strength not in the roar of crowds or the counsel of advisors, but in solitude. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul, he wrote. And so, in those moments of stillness, he discovered wisdom that no battlefield or Senate debate could provide. Psychology teaches us that silence activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of you designed for restoration and clarity. It is no coincidence that moments of great insight often come not when we are searching for them, but when we pause. When you sit in silence, you are not merely resting, you are realigning. You give your subconscious room to work, to connect dots your conscious mind has missed. Imagine this: every day you carve out a small sanctuary of silence, not as an escape, but as a meeting with yourself. No distractions, no judgments, just you and the quiet. Over time, you begin to notice patterns. Your instincts sharpen. Decisions feel less like dilemmas and more like natural conclusions. The more you listen to the silence, the louder your inner wisdom becomes. Silence is not empty. It is a conversation with the most authentic version of yourself. Learn to listen to it, and you will find that the answers you seek have always been within you, waiting patiently for the noise to fade. The act of writing down your fleeting, strange feelings is not just a task. It's a ritual, a dialogue with the unseen depths of your own mind. Every sensation that makes you pause, every seemingly illogical hunch is a thread. And when you write it down, you begin weaving a tapestry, a map that reveals the subtle terrain of your intuition. Imagine your mind as a vast ocean with most of its currents hidden beneath the surface. These currents, your subconscious, your lived experiences, and the whispers of your instincts, manifest in fleeting moments, a feeling of unease when everything seems fine, or an inexplicable pull toward a choice others dismiss. When you ignore these moments, they vanish like waves crashing on the shore, leaving no trace. But when you capture them on paper, you give form to the formless. You begin to see patterns where before there was only chaos. Nietzsche once said, "All truly great thoughts are conceived while walking." I would add that they are clarified when recorded. Writing is not just an act of remembering, it is an act of discovery. As you jot down what felt strange, what didn't align, you're not just archiving your thoughts, you're engaging with them. You're creating a mirror that reflects what logic often refuses to acknowledge, the wisdom of intuition. Marcus Aurelius, a man who faced constant uncertainty, carried a journal where he poured his thoughts, doubts, and observations. He didn't write for an audience. He wrote for himself to untangle the threads of his mind. And through this practice, he found clarity amid the chaos of life. Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if thou wilt ever dig, he wrote. By keeping a journal of your intuitive moments, you too begin to dig into the depths of your mind, unearthing treasures you didn't know existed. From a psychological perspective, this practice sharpens your awareness. The act of writing forces your brain to slow down, to process what might otherwise remain vague and unexamined. Over time, you'll begin to notice correlations. That strange feeling you had about a person, it matched their later actions. That impulse to take a different route, it led you to avoid an inconvenience. These patterns aren't coincidences. They're evidence. They're proof that your intuition is speaking to you, waiting to be heard. And as you fill the pages of this journal, you're not just documenting the past, you're training yourself for the future. Each entry becomes a lesson teaching you how to distinguish the voice of intuition from the noise of fear or desire. The more you write, the more you'll trust this voice, and the more it will guide you toward decisions that resonate deeply with who you are. This journal isn't just a record, it's a tool, a practice, a companion on the path to understanding yourself. And in the act of writing, you'll find that what once felt strange and fleeting transforms into something profound, the unmistakable voice of your inner wisdom. In the intricate dance of human interaction, there is an art that transcends words, a language far deeper than speech. It is the unspoken, the invisible current of energy that moves between people. Here, in these subtle spaces, your intuition thrives, quietly guiding you to understand things you might not yet comprehend consciously. Imagine this. You walk into a room, and within seconds, you sense something. It's not a specific thought, but a feeling that something is amiss, or that a certain person is radiating warmth. This isn't magic. This is a skill you can hone. It's the skill of scanning your environment with the keen eyes of your intuition, understanding the silent language of the human experience. In the world we live in, we are bombarded with sensory overload, sounds, images, and information. But beneath this surface chaos lies an uncharted territory where intuition reigns. Nietzsche, in his exploration of the human condition, speaks to this very aspect when he says, "The greatest events, they are not our loudest, but our most subtle." It is not the overt words that matter most. It is the hidden gestures, the micro-expressions, the energy that shifts when a person speaks or remains silent. When you begin to truly observe, you start to perceive the vibrations of the world around you. A person's posture, the way their eyes flicker, the small shift in their stance when they're about to speak or when they've just told a lie. These are not insignificant details. They are threads of truth woven into the fabric of the present moment. When you train yourself to observe these nuances, you begin to understand what people are too afraid or too proud to say. But it's not just about reading the surface level of individuals. It's about attuning yourself to the energy of the entire space. Marcus Aurelius understood the power of environment and perspective when he reflected, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your intuition does the same by scanning the energy of a space, whether it's a meeting room, a public gathering, or even a quiet street. Your mind starts to pick up on the unspoken rules and dynamics that govern human behavior. The art of scanning your environment is, at its core, the practice of mindful observation. You begin to notice what others ignore. You see the slight tension in someone's shoulders, the subtle hesitation before they speak, the unconscious mimicry of another's movements. These details create a larger narrative, and your intuition, refined through constant awareness, picks up on it almost instinctively. Psychologically, this skill sharpens your emotional intelligence. It cultivates an awareness of what is truly happening, beyond what is said or even felt consciously by those involved. And the more you observe, the more your intuition becomes like a finely tuned instrument, ready to strike at the heart of a situation before your logical mind has even caught up. In this practice, you learn that the truth is not always spoken in words. Sometimes it's in the subtle shifts of the room. And the more you attune yourself to these nuances, the more you'll unlock your intuition's ability to guide you toward insight and clarity in any situation. This isn't just observation. This is an art, a dance with the invisible, where your mind and your intuition move together in harmony. And in the quiet moments between thoughts, you'll find yourself aligned with truths that others can't see, waiting patiently for you to hear them. There is a certain power in recognizing your mistakes, something far greater than simply correcting a misstep. It is in this acknowledgement that your intuition, the quiet whisper of your inner wisdom, sharpens and grows more precise. As you look back on your life, you see the threads of choices you once made, some leading you down the right path, others veering you astray. But it is the missteps, the errors, the failures that hold the deepest lessons. Marcus Aurelius, in his Stoic reflections, encourages us to see every experience as an opportunity for growth, saying, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." You see, those mistakes weren't just obstacles, they were the very tools that shaped the clarity of your intuition. When you failed to listen to your gut, when your judgment was clouded by emotions or circumstances, your intuition took note of that, learned from it, and recalibrated. Every wrong turn you took added layers of wisdom to your inner compass. Nietzsche would argue that we are forged in the fires of hardship. He understood that the human spirit, tempered by the weight of errors and suffering, becomes stronger, more resilient, and more discerning. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how, Nietzsche famously wrote, and so when you acknowledge your mistakes, you create space for your why, your deeper purpose, to emerge. It's from this clarity that your intuition, once dulled by distractions, becomes a finely tuned instrument, capable of guiding you with unprecedented precision. But there is something profound about the process of introspection. It is not enough to simply identify your failures. You must learn from them. You must dig deeper, understanding the reasons behind your choices and the lessons they carried. In this process, your intuition evolves. It becomes a partner, not a passive observer, but an active participant in your life, helping you navigate through decisions. Not from a place of fear, but from a place of knowing what feels right, what aligns with your core, and what leads you toward your truest self. The paradox is that the more you face your past mistakes, the more you release the grip of shame or regret, the more acute your intuitive awareness becomes. You stop seeing errors as failures and start viewing them as the very experiences that empower you. And in this transformative process, your intuition becomes a steady, reliable force that helps you recognize patterns, understand the underlying truth of situations, and make decisions with confidence. The mistakes you once feared now serve as your greatest allies, sharpening your inner sight with every passing day. Through this lens, your past no longer holds power over you. It becomes the fertile ground in which your intuition flourishes, ready to guide you toward greater wisdom and understanding. It is in the light of your past that you unlock the strength of your inner voice, and with each step, it becomes clearer, louder, and more trustworthy. So reflect on your past, embrace the lessons within, and allow your intuition to sharpen like the blade of a sword, ready to cut through the noise of the world and lead you toward your true path. Intuition is not some mystical gift reserved for a select few or the fortunate. It is your natural state, your inherent ability to understand, to feel, and to perceive without the interference of your busy, restless mind. It is as much a part of you as your breath, as primal as the urge to survive. The irony lies in how we, in our pursuit of logic, control, and external validation, have moved further from this simple truth. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, spoke of how we are often blind to the answers we seek because we are looking outside, distracted by the cacophony of the world. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The very essence of intuition lies in this realization, The answers you seek, the insights you crave, have always been inside of you. They have been waiting patiently, quietly, until you chose to listen. Nietzsche, with his boldness, understood that we are creatures of great depth, capable of tapping into profound wisdom. He believed that to truly embrace our potential, we must become who we are. This includes reconnecting with our instincts, our raw, unfiltered perceptions. In his words, "Become who you are." Intuition is a reflection of this, an unfolding of the self, not as something mystical, but as something deeply personal, accessible to anyone who dares to turn inward, away from the noise of the world. Your intuition, like an ancient silent river, has always flowed through you. It's there in the pauses, in the stillness between your thoughts. It is the subtle recognition in a conversation, the gut feeling in a decision, the sense of peace or discomfort that arises unbidden when you step into a room or meet someone new. These signals are part of you, your nature. The challenge lies not in finding intuition, but in learning to trust it, in learning to be still enough, open enough to hear it. The final lesson, then, is simple. Intuition is not something external that you must seek or chase. It is your own nature waiting to be acknowledged. It is a voice that has always been there, whispering, guiding. The more you align with your true self, the more you embrace your inner world, the clearer your intuition becomes. This is not about some mystical enlightenment. It is about remembering who you are at the deepest level and allowing that knowing to guide you through life's complexities. So as you close this chapter, remember, intuition is not the exception. It is the rule, the constant companion of those who dare to be true to themselves. It is available to anyone who is willing to become quiet, to listen, and to trust the wisdom that resides within. And that, my friend, is not some distant goal. It is your nature waiting to be rediscovered. Friends, you've just taken an important step in unlocking your true power, the power of intuition. Remember, your inner voice is not a random occurrence. It is your key to understanding yourself and the world around you. The more you trust yourself and your feelings, the clearer and stronger your path becomes. Never forget that intuition is accessible to anyone who is ready to be honest with themselves, anyone willing to listen to the silence and trust their inner world. I wish for you to move through life with an open heart and a clear mind, allowing intuition to be your guide. Listen to yourself and do not be afraid to take steps in the direction your inner wisdom shows you. May each day bring you new revelations, and may your path be light and mindful.